Good morning and hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let us welcome you on this so-called KVIFF Talks or Q&A with our special guest, Mr. KVIFF Gondry, the director of the Mood Indigo film, the opening film of this year's edition of International Film Festival Karlovy Vary.
So in the beginning, let us make two brief introductions. The first one is not so important, it's the introduction of the two hosts of this Karlovy Vary International Film Festival Talks. This is Aleš Tuchy, and I'm Vít Šmarc. We are from Czech Radio, Radio Wave, where we present a film magazine called Čelisti, or The Jaws, if you want that in English. And now the second introduction, which is of course more important. Our very special guest today, tireless visual inventor, creator of film worlds that combine reality and dreams, ordinariness and imagination, adulthood and childhood. Let me mention only at least the most popular, Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind or Science of Dreams. He's, of course, pioneering director of music videos as well for famous artists such as Björk, Kylie Minogue, Daft Punk, etc. And last but not least, the creator of very innovative commercials. These are all the areas that are open to your questions today, so you don't have to reserve your questions only for the actual film of Michel Gondry, but also for commercials, for his previous movies, for music videos. So, I think we should start with a few technicals.
Just a few technicals. We have some electricity issues, we've been told. So, each 20 minutes we can go shut down, so anything will happen.
Completely dark.
Okay, so maybe complete dark. Also, we have to ask the photographers to take their pictures only during the first 5 minutes of these Q&As. Thank you very much for 5 minutes for the pics. And also, all these Q&As will be all in English, without translation in English, but also completely Swedish, of course. Completely Swedish.
So now is the place for your questions. So whatever is on your mind, whatever bothers you, whatever interests you, just fire on. No, it's really brief.
First, especially, Boris Evian, sparkling water and everything.
So let me start with a question. Of course, it's like a basic one, just to break the ice. Let's talk about your childhood and influences. It's not a psychotherapist question, but the influence of your childhood on your filmmaking career, because you have a really interesting family background and interesting passions in your family that kind of shaped you as a movie maker and as an artist.
Yes, I grew up in a creative environment. My parents had a job that were not necessarily artistic, but they were playing music and listening to jazz and pop music. My grandfather invented electronic bands, electronic keyboards. So my father taught me to print photos. Nothing really incredible, but enough that I always drew and painted and make things with objects. It was a good environment to develop my creativity.
So now your turn, if you want to. Some questions? Oh yeah.
I've got a microphone here if you want to. So.
Yeah, we'll pass the microphone because it's really noisy here.
Hello? Hey, I would just like to ask, which piece of your work are you the most proud of?
It's hard for me to get a strong perspective on the movies. I have too many doubts. So I would say some videos I've done seem to be satisfying, like the one for Daft Punk, or some for the Chemical Brothers, maybe some always tried. I mean, I can look at them and feel they're complete. As for a feature film, it's like to make a building, to be an architect, and it's hard. You never have enough distance to appreciate really its quality.
It's interesting to hear from a film director that he's having a doubts about his films. It's something new for us. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, so let's pass the microphone to the gentleman on the bar. I'm sorry, it's a really long way.
So my question is about your movie you're presenting here, like in Gajou. So why did you, when you read a book, the first thing when you finish it, it's not possible to make a movie from this. So why did you choose to make a movie from this book? And that's the question.
Well, I mean, to me, I don't think it was, I didn't say it was impossible. I mean, some people say that to me. It's, the fact that it was very visual and dreamy and some aspect surreal made it more inspirational. So I don't think it was possible. What's possible as well is that people have a very everybody, I mean, at least in France, everybody has read the book and have their own image of it. So you might disappoint them, but I never felt it was not possible. And yeah, why did I choose that? I mean, it stuck with me, this book, for years, and it really helped my imagination to reach a further level. So that's my first activity of the day, so I'm a bit slow. I need to go.
Okay, so I'll use the time for another question. How much inspiration do you draw from literature, generally?
I draw some. It's hard to answer. I read a lot of Russian novels, and the way they're constructed are really it's a great inspiration. But I don't know if I work a movie, if I'm going to think of literature or a book. But I remember it's kind of trivial. But I did a video for a band called I Am. It's a French rap band, and I did that like 20 years ago. It was a technique that I put together where you would zoom in a part of the frame, and then you would see another part in the frame and zoom into it, and so on, for the whole duration of the video. And this was inspired by, I forgot the title of it. It's a Russian novel where the guy goes to see a doctor and he has a little dog in his pocket, and then the dog dies. But he would, the beginning of the novel, it's him going to Moscow. I think it's Moscow. And he always imagined himself 2 minutes later, and then he's 2 minutes later, and then he imagined himself when it's going to go by under the bridge, and then he imagined himself when it's going to be, and when he's on the bridge, you see, in a minute I will be past this building, and so on. And it's very much how I would think when I would go back from school, walking, like projecting myself in the next moment. And this idea, I really visualized it by the concept I had for this video, where each time you will be projected into the future. So that's an example of how literature gives me some idea. But it's really, I mean, you would never tell if it doesn't show.
Okay, the audience turn once again, okay.
Why do you think Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind has become such a cult film and such a favorite with film lovers?
It's sort of a coincidence. I don't know. I guess it was a mix of personality who made it. Charlie Kaufman is really creative and extremely smart, but he really doesn't like happy endings and anything that could remind him of Hollywood. And on my side, I don't mind a happy ending. And I'm maybe more sentimental. I think we shared some ideas of like I would call it geometrical narrative, the way the stories unfold. So we had a lot of ideas together, and the concept was coming from me, and a friend of mine and me, and Charlie Kaufman wrote a screenplay. So it was a good combination. Same thing, the mix to have Jim Carrey, who had another idea of how the film could be. And we had two producers, one from Los Angeles, one from New York, so that were doing very different movies. And so you could really tell it could be a disaster, but it turned out to be quite successful. I mean, it was not like a hit. It grew over the years, and it's true that people like it. So it's a combination of different minds who could have made a horrible result, but happened to be a good one.
Okay, how about you, sir?
As for Mood Indigo, the film is sort of full of fascinating objects. I wanted to ask if they survive the premiere of the movie, if that's possible to buy or see at the exhibition, the piano cocktail and so on. And how much are you personally involved in the handwork on all of that? Because you obviously are sort of fascinating on this small work of hope you want to know what I want to say.
Yes, this object exists, and they've been in different exhibitions in places. And yes, I was very interested into the fabrication of those hybrids and original machines, because to me it was a translation of the invention of Boris Vian on vocabulary, because he uses combination of words, juxtapositions, and you create new words, and I wanted to do the same with objects and sets and situations. So I cut stuff in half and I cut them, put them back together. So that's why the movie ended up to be so visual. I wanted to translate the language into images. But those objects are difficult to transport, like the piano tail. It's been in different places. I don't know exactly where it is now. It's going to be a little more broken every time.
So other questions on magical objects for Mr. Gondry?
I'll take a little different angle. Do you consider your work in commercials to be on the same level as your movies, or is it kind of a fill-in while you're not making a movie, you put in a commercial and a music video there and there?
Well, commercial and music videos are very different. When I do, I always try my best. I think when I do a video, it's more personal commitment. There is no real money involved, and I really am in charge of most of the aspects. Depending on who I work with, like for instance, when I do a video with Björk, she comes up with a lot of the visual ideas, concept, and so on. And if I work with Beck or otherwise, Stripe, I bring everything. So I have more independence on creativity, responsibility, and music videos. And commercial people come with me with a story and ask me to make it the best possible. So I have less, I feel less responsible. And of course there is money to be earned, and that's one of the reasons I do them. There is one thing in advertising that can help making movies. I mean, there is one thing that's dangerous. Sometimes you have too much money and it gets spoiled, and it's a bad school to make movies, because to make a movie you have to be ready to give up on some ideas and you know, do with the budget, and it's a much longer process. So you can't just behave like you have to get along with everybody. So making commercial can give you a mind that's not exactly the right mind to do a feature film. But the good thing about those is that you have to deal with many opinions. Contrary to music videos where I really decide on every aspect, on commercial you have to listen and you have to compromise sometimes. And there is many people who have an opinion that you have to listen. And that's a little bit like making movies. Even if independent movies, you still have to deal with many people, because even if it's like a 1 million movie or 2 million or 5 million, it's still a big, even the smallest movie is still a big amount of money. So you have to, you can't just take this money and make a movie. You have to talk to people, explain them what you want to do, and the work in advertising teach you that.
Okay, electricity speaking with us, but still running, so the question, if not, I ask for myself, or one of, maybe there is someone, that's great, save your question.
So my question is about the visual aspect of the movie, because the part of the animation just reminded me of old Czech animation, so I'd like to ask for the inspiration of the visual.
It reminds you of what?
Czech animation, if I heard.
Yeah.
Oh, Czech animation, yes. I love Bratislav Pojar. It's one of my favorites. And it's interesting because in the country you went from communism to capitalism, and it's for how bad communism was. There's something that was very, from my perspective, from France, enjoy my freedom. That the programs that were coming from communist countries in terms of animation or kids program was very interesting, and I always preferred what was coming from the communist countries than from the US. I mean, I like Walt Disney, but it's interesting because the propaganda in communist film is on the surface. So let's say this movie, One Drop Too Much, of Bratislav Pojar, it's one of my favorites of all time. It's wonderful. Basically, it's propaganda that just tells you can't drink too much before you take the road, which I don't see any problem with that. I totally agree. And underneath, the art and the craft is really personal and intimate and very wonderful. And if you take a Walt Disney movie, that's quite the opposite, where I mean, it claims freedom, but on the surface there is no. It seems that there is no propaganda, but down in the message, what it says like if you're a woman, you have to be in the kitchen, you have to make a family. I mean, all the values are extremely conservative and capitalist, and the fact that they need to appeal. They're designed to appeal to the biggest audience possible is twisted, and obviously you didn't have that this type of animation or art from this area of your past. So yes, I am influenced by this animation, and it's a craft that I respect a lot, and I really got a lot of inspiration. And when I read Boris Vian, I always wanted, I mean, in the science of sleep as well, I use this type of hand animation. And what I like very much is it's very, very precise, but at the same time you can see how it's made. You can see it was made with such an object and another object, and how it was built. You could, it sort of give you the inspiration to come home and make it yourself, because you see how it's made. So I always love that. So yes, I was inspired by Czech animation.
And next one.
I heard there was some gentleman. Oh, he's gone, I think. So please.
When I watch your videos, I have always been a strong feeling that your main characters are searching for something what they can't achieve. And I would like to ask you, could I find you in your movies, and what are you searching for?
Do you want to know if you can find me in a movie? In my movie?
Yeah, in dreaming visions or something like that as well.
If you share dreams with your character.
Yes. Well, of course I try to reflect myself into the character that I put in my movies. Like in the Science of Sleep, that's maybe the most personal. I had this attraction to this woman that was not shared, and I had this feeling that if I would make something really personal as an object, like if I would build an object, that's why the character Stefan built like a time machine. I just had this feeling that if you're in love with somebody, you could make the person fall in love if you do something extraordinary. The reality is different. It doesn't work like that. It's not, you can make the most amazing creation. If the person is not attracted by your creativity, I mean, any idea it could be, but if the person had to start with doesn't share this attraction, so you can do anything you have in mind, and it's not going to change this problem. You better send her a bouquet of flowers, and it would have the same impact, if not maybe better. So that's something I shared. And dreams in this movie were very real from what I had. Actually, I fell in love with this woman through a dream. I thought she liked me, and I had no attraction toward her. And then I had a dream where I realized I liked her. And when I woke up, I was in love. So obviously all that is very personal. In L'équipe des jours, I mean the character, the guy, for instance, my movie, I I can't have somebody who. So that's why it's sometimes difficult to find actor to represent how I would like the main guy character represented. A lot of actors they want to be really manly and very strong and heroic and courageous and I don't see them like that. I mean, I could not identify with them if they were like that. So I try to find. So I find people like Romain Duris who can be both like a boy and he's a guy, but he can be cowardly and messy and he's not a hero. So to me, it's important that I find these qualities in the character in my movies because. Otherwise, it's just I feel I'm just lying. It would be hard to do a movie with John Travolta. I was watching this movie yesterday in the montage they did, and he's amazing. But I don't see my heroes the same way.
Great.
How do you select commercials that you are shooting? It's just a matter of money, of a financial offer, or you select it according to the product or to the idea that is presented to you by the agency?
Well, it's an ensemble. I mean, I would not do commercial for cigarettes or the army, for instance. I would not do that. I mean, in essence, I'm kind of against commercial. Like, for instance, I don't think there should be commercial before, during, or after the news on TV. So, the system that the news are in the commercial context is wicked. You can't have objective information when you have people who pay the program, who finance the program, who are maybe the bad guy. So that's wrong, and I'm part of the system, so I try to not do it too much. Even if I don't do it, somebody else will do it. And I guess it's not a good excuse. Now sometimes I don't pick the most expensive commercial. I just did one that was not very much money, but I like the idea. I think it's just at some point I visualize myself shooting it, and once this is in my mind, or it's stuck in my mind, I have to do it, and even if the money is not great.
Where do you find biggest artistic freedom? Because I think not in the commercial, but maybe in the movies or in the music videos, or don't you feel free when you're making film or video? It's just...
Well, in the movie it depends a lot on the budget. I mean, I did the Green Hornet and I don't think I have much artistic freedom. Obviously it was a huge budget, so you feel the pressure of the studio where they have this huge investment. And sometimes you feel it's too bad because you could do pretty much the same for half or a third of the money, because you're not making the decision how to spend the money. Like I remember on the Green Hornet, I wanted to do a lot of action scenes with models to make it less expensive, but they would not let me because they thought it would be too quirky. So for independent film, you have more freedom. I mean, the lower the budget, the more freedom you have, basically. And then as well, you have the problem, or it's not necessarily a problem, it could be about who you put in your movie. I mean, if you have somebody who's very prominent, they may have a complicated schedule, so you have to organize the shooting around them, or you make so many concessions because you have to shoot out of order, or you have to travel, or many things that are nothing to do with the interest of the film. But that's how it works, where you need somebody who's going to support the film, or something of course you like as well. There's so many exterior elements that limit the freedom. I mean, I just finished a documentary on Noam Chomsky, which I did frame by frame animated, and I have to say that's the maximum freedom I could have because it's just me on a piece of paper and a Sharpie, actually hundreds of Sharpie, and that's really what goes through my mind, end up on the film, and that's the greatest freedom possible.
Noam Chomsky is a good subject for discussing freedom. Anything else you want to discuss, dear audience? Still, that was close, but I think.
Talking about the budget, it's very hard to tell by with some of your music movies if they were cheap or very expensive. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I wanted to ask about two of them. About the Kylie Minogue one, Come Into My World, and White Stripes, That Leaves on a Dirty Ground, where you project the past on a present, sort of. How many people did you need for the Kylie Minogue thing? Because you never can tell if it's real people or digital multiplication or
real people. It's well, the Kylie Minogue was a bit more expensive. So it's a motion control system, so it's a machine that makes the camera go the same place at each take. And it was driving like in a loop, and people will do different action at each turn, so they will multiply because we just superimpose the images. So a video like that, how did it cost? It costed probably, in comparison to the White Stripe video you're mentioning, 2 or 3 times this budget. But still, it's not huge. The most expensive video I've done, it was for the Rolling Stone, and it's 15 years ago, or nearly 20. Let's say 15 years ago, and it was like, I would say, 10% of the budget I had for censorship. Give you a scale. And it was the biggest budget, but there were a video that literally cost what censorship cost. You can literally make, but this era is finished now. Even in commercial, you don't have so much money. These things have changed. This one of this White Stripe, we used a house that was supposed to be destroyed anyway. So we shot all the destruction, and then we painted everything in white, and we pre-projected the past, as you said, to the present. So that was complicated. It was actually more complicated than the Kylie Minogue, but it required less people to do. Like on the Kylie Minogue, maybe I had 40 people working. It's hard to tell. On the movie, you have between 60 and 100. What's funny in a movie is when you go to the bathroom.
Maybe the...
Hold on, I'm in the middle of my sentence. So, when you do a movie, I say there's 100 people working, let's say, or 60. And you suddenly, as director, I want to go to the bathroom, and I turn, and I see that like 80% of the people are just waiting. Because they have done their work before the shot or at the beginning of the day, and they're waiting. There's so much waiting for everybody, and they will not do another job on another. They have to do only one function because it's how it's planned. But like it's amazing how much energy is and money is wasted in shooting.
And as for the cheapest end, was there any music video that could be possible that were made in a very tiny team, very cheaply?
Yes, many of them. Very expensive. I did one for Björk. It was extremely complex for crystalline. And I think it costed a quarter of the one at the Waste Drive. It was, sometimes I even put a bit of my money, and sometimes I directed videos for my friend, and I did one with a lot of colorful clothes that create rainbows, and it was pretty, we had 100 sort of dancers. There were people from a marching band, so they were not like super fit dancers, they were just people who know rhythm. And so we had to create choreographies for 100 people, and I just paid it myself. It was quite a good present. It was for a friend of mine. But I think director like Spike Jones and myself and some other, we got lucky in a way that we were not so attached to the detail on the surface and the look. So when everything went on the net and stopped going on TV, you would see only on YouTube the videos. The image is so small that it really doesn't matter how it looks. So, but what matters is the content. So you must have an idea, a concept, a story. And because we had that with this director, we sort of survived this transformation. So this idea that we could make videos with less money and that would still be interesting help us through this transformation of broadcasting.
As far as for the commercials, you shoot them still now in between the films. How many offers you usually get, and how do you select them? What is your criteria for selecting? Is it money? Is it creativity? Is it the interesting product?
Well, for commercial, I do it to get money, of course, but it's not necessarily why I choose one commercial over another one. I would choose the cheapest commercial if it fits me better. And a lot of time it's where I am at this moment or what is offered to me. As for video, it's never about money. It's about if I like the music, if I like the artist.
Can you tell us about your last commercial that you have shot? What was it for, and how you, on this example, used your creativity on the concept that agency gave to you?
Well, the last one I did was for, believe it or not, was for deodorant. But the concept was funny. Was they took a lot of American footballer, put them in a room and make music with gym equipment. So my idea, for instance, was to, instead to put them in a big warehouse, to put them in a recording studio, so the contrast between the sport equipment and this type of guy in a recording studio was interesting, and we really recorded their action and built the music from it. So, and it was for the net, so it was not a huge budget, and I didn't get enormous amount of money, but I sort of kind of wanted to do it because I thought that the idea was funny, and I just wanted to try it.
Back to movies, time for my question. Yeah? Go on. Thank you very much. I want to ask you one particular movie of yours, which is one of my favorites of yours, and it's, by my opinion, special even by your own standards. It's Dave Chappell's Block Party, the kind of concert film, very euphoric for me. How did you get involved in this special case of movie, and how do you look on this movie in retrospective?
Well, it was a great experience. I got to meet Dave Chappelle through my agent, I think. I mean, he just was looking for a filmmaker to make his... he wanted to throw a party in Brooklyn, or actually, no, he wanted to do it in New York, in Manhattan, in Central Park, and he wanted to invite all the artists that came to his show and sort of supported him during his show when he was doing the Dave Chappelle show. And sort of as a thank you because he had much success with this show, he wanted to organize a big concert where he would mix comedy and music. And I suggested to go to Brooklyn to make really like the block party, like the feeling of the street. And we shot, and the producer just wanted to shoot the concert, but I wanted to have a sort of a story with people who go to the concert, how we give out tickets, golden tickets to come to the concert. And so we choose a place in Brooklyn that has a lot of history with hip hop. And then we edited both together. We crisscrossed the journey to the concert because what happened is like I was shooting Dave Chappelle. I was following him with a camera in his hometown in Ohio, and not much was happening, and it's really scary. You got with the crew, you have the camera, and we shot on film. And you just wait for something to happen. And suddenly he sees this marching band crossing the road to go to practice, and he starts to talk to them, and they recognize him, and they're all excited. And he really suddenly asks them if they want to come to the concert. And suddenly, yes, of course, everybody wants to come, and most of them never been to New York. And so we have to organize the bus, transportation, etc., and ask the principal of the school. So all that was created at this moment when we got the idea that he asked him to come to the concert. And that was great in this shooting, is how we didn't know in advance what would come to the camera, and what came to the camera had a great impact. I mean, as soon as they said yes, we have to figure out how it would come, and this became the other side of the film. When you see them, we follow them until the end and see this concert through their eyes. So for me, what was really interesting is to go there, and it's frightening, with no preconceived idea.
You mentioned the amazing scene with the marching band and the Kanye West performance of Jesus Walks, this amazing moment of the movie. Do you have some relation to this kind of music, like hip hop and this kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, that's the main popular music now, and I always been interested to see how popular music come so often from minorities. And come from a way that minorities develop to create their own entertainment, and like blues, jazz, come from black minorities, and it helped them to overcome very basically they turn upside down a difficult condition of life into something that's it's so entertaining that it becomes universal. So even if the hip hop was created in some devastated, destroyed blocks of New York, then he becomes the favorite music of a rich market guy, stockholder of Manhattan. So this is interesting how suffering in some ways creates a beauty, a beauty that people who created the suffering end up enjoying themselves. It's kind of Well, so I always been interested, and we listen to a lot of black music or jazz music in my home when I grew up. So I was very flattered and interested to do this concert. And I felt a bit guilty because maybe it should be an African American director doing this movie. And many times I was the only white person in a room.
I think it was a great job for a white guy, really.
Oh, thanks. It's funny, I was invited at MIT, at the Institute of Technology of Massachusetts. And they have dormitories, and they have dormitories where they are, it's funny because you could call it segregation, but that's their own decision, where they are only amongst African American. And they invited me, and they thought I was black, and when they saw I was white, they were really surprised. But that was interesting.
I have one question about this kind of community motive, which is very important in your films, especially in Be Kind, Rewind. Is it kind of nostalgia, this do-it-yourself culture, or do you think this concept is still alive and is vital for, culture survival in the new era?
Yes, and I think the do-it-yourself can work with the new technology as well. There's no reason why not. It may be a little more complicated, but I think it's important that you create your own entertainment. I mean, that follows what I was talking just before, like the hip-hop or the rap was created by people who had the idea to select the favorite part of a record and play it on 2 turntables with 2 times the same record. On that, do it yourself. It's always do it yourself. It doesn't mean that because you do it yourself that the craft has to be butchered and you don't have talent. But it's important that you don't need to go to the corporation and people who work for a corporation who have a special way of thinking that's really fitting the corporation and not have to ask them before you build something. And so that's why the do-it-yourself is really important, and I want to encourage people to do so and do things they have in mind without asking permission.
Do you feel yourself as a professional or as a part of this do-it-yourself culture, like it's vital part of you?
Well, I think myself like a lucky do-it-yourself who become professional. But it's something that I guess I earned, and I worked quite hard to say, no, we can do it this way, we can do it a different way. Because when you shoot a movie, you have a lot of resistance to make something differently. And sometimes I should maybe listen to them more, maybe I will do more popular movies. But I like to try a different ways to shoot the idea or the story. And but you work with, like I was saying, 60 or 100 people that are all their way they work in all the other movies or the way they've been taught. Because I'm coming from do it myself, I developed my own ways to do things, and I don't want to change that because there is more people to work. Because I feel I would lose some intimacy, and it's a lot of work to convince people that your idea is not stupid. A lot of time people really look at you and think that that's ridiculous. You have to overcome that constantly.
Okay, time for the last question from the audience, if there's one.
Yeah, we
ready?
So, 2 questions.
I heard that the next project is Philip K. Dick novel, Ubik. Did you start already with the work, or can you tell us something about it?
We are still at the very beginning. It's another very complicated story on a very prominent book, so I'm taking it slow. But it's an amazing story. Working on it.
So, another question.
Hello. I would like to say first thank you, come to Carlo Vivari. And do you have some story which you wish to make film about in future?
You want to tell me my next movie, but the stories of... it's not... Sorry? A dream story. Oh yes, I have dream stories that when I wake up I will think, oh, this dream would make an incredible movie. You wake up with this feeling that you've been through an incredible journey. And it's a feeling you would like to have or to give to the audience after they see your movie. And I had stories that I carry with me coming from dreams. And maybe one day I will make them. But I mean, the feeling you have of having made an incredible journey, it might be difficult to share because it's part of the dream to give you these emotions. So you may dream of something very trivial, very not interesting, and think it was amazing. And so you have to be careful as well. I mean, I don't think everybody could be interested in my dreams. But yeah, I dream plenty of stories, and sometimes I direct my dreams like I direct movies.
So, Mr. Gondry, we wish you many fantastic dream inventions in the future. Thank you for being here. It was a great pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.